From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's Just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
Buenos nachos.
You got a tip for Melissa? A new angle on an old mystery. A new mystery only you know about. Why tricks are only for kids. Anything. Tell us about it by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. Or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. You just might hear your tip on the podcast. Now here's your host, walking through the valley of the shadow of death, looking for a drive-thru where she can get a decent goddamn Diet Coke, Melissa Morgan.
More cowbell. I don't like Diet Coke, producer Mark.
I know, but Diet Coke sounded funny.
Okay. All right. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. If I were going through a drive-thru, I'd probably ask for a Coke Zero.
Or a regular Coke.
A regular Coke, half Diet Coke, because it makes me feel like I'm consuming less calories.
True.
Yeah, that's how I work it in my head. I'm very good at validating shit.
We used to call that a suicide when we were
no kidding.
in
At
school.
Mike's Hero Subs? Oh, no.
No, when I was in school, like in elementary school and high school.
Oh, because you thought it would explode, or no?
Well, when you mix any two kinds of sodas, when like one of my friends in high school liked to mix Coke and 7-Up together.
Oh no, that's wrong.
And he called that a suicide.
That's just wrong.
Then
two different species.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. No, this is just like trying to, not have the horrible taste of Diet Coke, and yet not have all the calories of regular Coke.
I like the taste of Diet Coke.
I do not at all. Tastes like metally acid, or acidy metal. I don't know. It's not good. Not good.
Maybe it is. Maybe that's the taste I like. Who knows?
Oh, that actually makes sense. You have a fascinating palate.
Especially yeah, really?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I like the kind with I think they call it like evil cherry or something.
Feisty cherry.
Yeah.
Yeah, evil cherry's better. That one fits you. Diet Coke evil cherry.
Yeah.
But it's Diet Coke feisty cherry.
Right, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
I like that.
I have purchased that for you in the past. So
and I
do
appreciate
know you like
it.
that. Yeah, you like that. I didn't know, though, until you bought it for yourself the first time, and then I was like, oh, I'll get his favorite crappy Diet Coke.
It's feisty and evil.
But we're both trying to eat better and not... it's feisty and evil. We're trying not to consume as many Diet Cokes because they're, made with weasel lips, and we don't need to ingest any more weasel lips.
I'm drinking water right now.
I'm so proud of you. So am I. I'm drinking hint water, watermelon-flavored hint water.
Well, we're giving all kinds of free promos out to these products right now.
But they're good. To me, why not just promote something that's good? And speaking of that, we have a wonderful friend who lives in the area where we live. If you are looking for a house in the Santa Clarita Valley or anywhere in the northern part of LA County, our beautiful, wonderful, ambitious, motivated, fantastic, hardworking friend, Lee Moore, is the realtor for you. I mean, she's kind of phenomenal. We've known her for a long time and we adore her. And if you follow her on any of the social meds, she's fantastic. And it's LEIGHMOORE. And she's fantastic. And she's actually at a new real estate company now called EXP Realty. So if you're in Santa Clarita, and this isn't a commercial, but it's just us telling you how much we adore her.
We do.
If you're in the area and you want to buy a house or sell a house, call her at 661-373-5128 or email her at leigh.moore@exprealty.com. And she will take care of you like you've never been taken care of before. She's a spectacular human. And as her wife says, she lives, sleeps, eats, and breathes selling houses. So, and if that's coming from her wife, who's like, I haven't seen her in a while because she's so fucking busy, you know that's the kind of attention she gives her clients, and we adore her. So if you're local and you want to sell your house, give Lee a call, because you will not be disappointed in one one iota. You'll be deliriously happy.
And it is quite a market up here right now.
It's every time I see a post from Lee, it's like, everything is very competitive and there's not a lot of inventory, and it's very fascinating. The real estate market, like 20 miles can make a huge difference in how things are sold, obviously in the price, but it's just amazing to me. It's almost like a series of separate little ponds, like separate little markets.
That's a good way to put it.
I don't know a whole lot about the real estate market, but in fact, I don't know much at all. But it's so sad. My mom's probably turning over in her grave. She's like, I went to school to become a broker and you know nothing. I just really don't know a whole lot about, and my husband is the VP of risk management and litigation for a developer who builds houses. And I'm like, I don't know anything about.
You know enough.
A little, not a lot.
You found our house up here.
I did. That was a lot of searching. That was a whole hell of a lot of searching. But before we go into a little cautionary tale, a story about what's going on in the last couple of weeks with producer Mark, I wanted to say a big thank you to, and I hope I'm going to say her name right, Debany, and it's Debani, and I hope I say that right, because I'm now going to be just totally conscious every second because of goddamn Deneen and her parents spelling her name Danien. So I'm not going to call Deneen goddamn Deneen every episode because I do adore her.
She'd probably appreciate that.
She did email me and say she laughed much too hard when I said I hated her parents. So that brought me some joy. So we're really grateful that Debany left a beautiful review, and we're overwhelmed by the kindness of most of the listeners. So if you would like to help us out.
You're funny.
I'm delightful. If you would like to help us out, a priceless gift to us is to give us a 5-star rating, even take a moment to write a review if there's something about the show you like or anything you'd like to say about the show. We would love to hear it. And you can do that on Apple Podcasts or whatever listening device you listen to your podcasts. We'd be grateful. If you have any sort of information, an idea you would like us to cover, please feel free to give us a call at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. Or you can email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. So another great email we got. It wasn't a review on Apple Podcasts, but she's such a good writer. Maybe she'll consider doing that. Tipster Christine is binging the episodes, and she said, I'm a little late to the game, but she's not. It wasn't that long ago. But she gave me the difference between woodchucks and beavers.
No.
So you can imagine the horror that was wrought on my brain when I opened up my inbox and it said woodchucks versus beavers. And I assumed some crazed person was giving me sports scores for a team or two.
It's maybe a misdirected letter to the editors of Hustler, perhaps?
No, I didn't really. I actually, for the first time in my life, I didn't get anything dirty out of it. Yeah, I know I'd grown out of my 12-year-old boy. My boy phase for just an hour.
I'm amazed and pleased, actually. Thank you.
When you get an email that says woodchucks versus beavers, do you not think, oh my God, is it football season? Or,
yes.
I don't know.
Yes, you could have added Wolverines and then you would have been sure.
Well, but woodchucks versus beavers is just like possibly the best title of an email. So Tipster Christina says, hi guys, love the podcast. I'm a little late to the game with this one, but woodchucks are also known as groundhogs, in parentheses, see Punxsutawney Phil. They live on land in burrows. Basically, they're land-dwelling beavers without the cool tails and no buck teeth.
Ah, so they're groundhogs.
Yes.
Now we
woodchucks
know.
are groundhogs?
Yeah. Didn't she say also known as?
Woodchucks. Chuck, if a woodchuck could ground a hog?
Exactly.
Yeah. So exactly. That's what she said. And she said she, just discovered the show and she's binging it. And that's a wonderful thing. But in Christina, please feel free to email me at any time, day or night, but title your email something different than woodchucks versus beavers.
You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want, Christina.
I like that. I like that title, actually.
It was funny, and it caught my attention for sure, because I was like, oh, what the hell? It's not a spam email about sports memorabilia. I was so confused. I didn't know what was happening. So even though, one reviewer switched her 5 stars to 3 stars because we talk too much, she should, just turn the podcast off now, because we're going to talk a little
obsessing about her.
No.
One review.
Right. So we are going to talk a little bit to producer Mark about his last couple of weeks, because it actually lends itself to the story that I was going to talk about today. And it wasn't specifically today. I had just had this one on the back burner because it was interesting, because the details were interesting. And then it sort of became more timely because of what happened to producer Mark. So some of you know that a few years ago, just before a big important birthday, producer Mark got very sick and was hospitalized for 8 days and had 2 surgeries and came out and was great. It was a long road to heal, but he was terrific. And he
wasn't that terrific.
Well, you were really good. I mean, it was a long road, but you handled it really well.
2 years to heal.
Yeah, but not exactly 2. No. It's not but 2 years.
A year and a half.
But that's probably a better description, just because of the area. It's hard to walk. But so before anyone is wondering if we're talking still about woodchucks and beavers, we're not. What happened was producer Mark has bone spurs, not unlike the hail to the chief man who's running the country right now. But Mark did not use his to get out of military service. I'm not saying that.
They are fantastic bone spurs. They are the greatest bone spurs that have ever existed.
They're huge.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're huge.
I must tell you.
Yeah. Tell me about your huge bone spurs.
Yeah.
So what happens is producer Mark thinks he's born with bone spurs, and he's not. And
really, I'm not?
No.
Okay.
They typically come to people who have the beginnings of osteoarthritis. The bones move. It comes a lot from overuse, which we have found out that producer Mark has, according to the surgeon, a fast motor, and he needs to sit the fuck down sometimes. He's a walker. He walks a lot everywhere, whether he realizes it or not. It's like he accidentally does like 10,000 steps a day he doesn't really know it. So
I don't do that many, do I? I mean,
you do. We've checked your iPhone, and I have to have been entered into a foot race before I would ever do 10,000 steps a day. But so producer Mark walks a lot. He uses his legs, his feet. He actually has great, beautiful, muscly legs. He was a runner in his youth. And I like how I'm talking about you as if you've already passed on. So you can...
Yeah, I was going to say, I am right here. Hello!
You can feel free to interrupt anytime you want. So, but bone spurs happen when overuse of the bone or osteoarthritis, and the cushioning goes away. And your body is a beautiful, well-oiled machine, and it produces extra bone to try and take the pressure off of the bones rubbing together. But that, of course, then your body wasn't made to have extra bone built in it, and then it has to have somewhere to go. And in the case of producer Mark, it pushes through the skin, causing a wound that doesn't heal well, or then causes an infection, and then can be really bad. So the day before a big important birthday in August of 2017.
I'm not embarrassed. I can say it was my 60th birthday.
Just before his 60th birthday. I just didn't want everyone to know that you're a Highlander. You're immortal.
I'm immortal. I'm old.
He's very old. And we were going to our favorite place, Laguna Beach, and the next day for his birthday, for the weekend. And we went to see the doctor, and he goes, "Oh, this is bad. I'll meet you in the ER." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Well, look, we either can take the little toe, the foot, the leg, or his life." And I'm like, "Okay, meet you in the ER."
It was really not much of an argument after that.
No. So he was in the hospital 8 days. He had 2 surgeries. Some of you physiology geeks will know physiometry. Those people who know about the body, you'll understand. It's the metatarsal bone head. So it's the little toe that connects to the foot. If you just like take your hand and the outside bone of your little finger on the outside side of your hand, that's the equivalent on the foot, the metatarsal bone head. So that had gotten infected from the wound. So that was shaved off. The toe, the bone, everything else was saved. It was fine. It was an extraordinarily large amount of infected tissue that he removed. It was about the size of a deck of cards. But producer Mark has giant feet. Size, at that point, size 13, triple E. Now, for some reason, size 12, although I'm not sure I get that. But large feet. And the doctor even said, oh, yeah, his feet are so big, don't worry about it. You won't even notice this. Which, of course, I was like, yeah. You're full of shit, buddy. But he's right. And he also said the body remolds itself and it will fill in. And I'm like, oh, he's so full of shit. Mark's going to have a giant chunk out of his foot. But thankfully, he has a giant foot, so it won't matter. And I'll be goddamned if here we are 2 years later and the left foot is magnificent. And it has like a little indentation on the side. You would never know unless you knew.
Yeah, you would just think maybe I have a weird shaped foot. Maybe.
Exactly. Just like a tiny indentation on the left side around the little toe. So cut to what started all this was a wound on the right foot like 4 years ago. And that healed and was fine. And then came back and then healed and came back and healed and came back and healed. And it came back this time and it was taking a very long time to heal. And we were in Chicago and producer Mark had a surgery scheduled for that following Monday in the morning to remove the metatarsal bone head on the right foot. And his blood work came back to where the surgeon was being cautious and said, until we lower your A1C, your blood sugar, I don't want to do this surgery. It's not fair. Your body doesn't have the tools to heal. And producer Mark said, I understand. And it's not, the doctor said, it's going to take 2 to 3 months to bring your blood sugar down. So, I was hoping we would be able to have the surgery before the end of the year is all I was hoping. But that Monday, we went to the doctor in the afternoon and just for a regular checkup on the foot. And he said, okay, it has gotten so bad now that it has gone down to the bone. And he held up his gloved hand with 2 small white pieces of Mark's bone in his hand. And
he
said,
actually came out.
He said the bone came off in my hand. I got dizzy and was going to pass out, and producer Mark got tears in his eyes. And the doctor said, I'll meet you at the hospital. It's either going to be tonight or tomorrow morning, wherever I can get a surgical suite. We're going to do it now. And I thought, here we go again. And Mark's surgeon is a man of God. He is a Mormon, and he is a kind, wonderful man. And much like the guys from South Park, you can make fun of the Mormons all you want, and I do quite often. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care who you are, what you believe. If you believe in helping people, if you believe that we're all one, I don't care if you worship a head of lettuce named Steve.
I do, but
if Steve makes you happy and you are a good person because you believe that your head of lettuce is telling you to be a good person, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what you believe in. I do not care. What I care is if you're an awful person, and I don't care if you are the Pope and you're an awful person. I'm not going to like that. But I find a lot of the tenets of the Mormon Church odd, but they also believe in, as an example, Dr. Franson drives from Santa Clarita to Westwood every Tuesday at 4 a.m.
He gets up at 2:30 in the morning.
He gets up at 2:30 in the morning to leave by 3 to get to the VA by 4. And he works a shift for free, donating his time to help veterans in the VA hospital. And then comes back and works the rest of the day on his patients. So, he is a good man. He is a good man through and through. You're not going to convince me otherwise. I don't care how much you don't like Mormons. He is a good man. So he was able to get a surgical suite that Tuesday night, and it was about an hour surgery. And he came out to the waiting room and got me and said, I was basically the side part of the fifth metatarsal bonehead had come off. It had turned to mush. I was able to make a clean cut. And the other part of the bone that was left was so strong, I couldn't get the antibiotic bone cement to stick to the bone. The other part of the bone was so healthy and strong. But I left some metatarsal bone, antibiotic bone cement in there to, surround the rest of the bone. And then he said offhandedly to me, it was really interesting. Almost the second that I cut the infected part of the bone off, the pink skin went away and the swelling went down.
That's really weird.
In surgery. He tells me it was almost like it disappeared, like it had never happened. And I was like, interesting. And he said, yeah, he's going to have to be here a couple of days. It takes 3 days to grow a culture to see if it's, MRSA or some other antibiotic resistant infection. I did 2 cultures in my office. One, I saved the bone pieces. I sent those in, and I did a wound culture, and they did the same thing here at the hospital. 2 more cultures, a culture of the wound, a culture of the bone that he took off. And the entire time I'd been telling the doctor that Mark is an alien, and I'm an alien. My thyroid doctor tells me I'm an alien because my levels are always all over the place. And I'd finally gotten the doctor to maybe consider that Mark's an alien. When we went back to the office the first time after the surgery, he said, well, I guess I should go back to when he was in the hospital. They were like, yeah, we're just going to let you go home with some oral antibiotics. We're not going to put in the PICC line, and he's not going to have, 6 to 8 weeks of intravenous IV. We're just going to do oral antibiotics. And, it's weird. The wound cultures here just said 0 infection. We're like, okay. His blood sugar lowered 2 points in 9 days, which is...
Yeah, my A1C went down 2 points. That's I don't know how that happened.
It's unheard of. So I had thought that maybe the lab had made a mistake, but his blood sugar just it plummeted, not in a bad way, in a good way. We went back for the first appointment after the surgery, and the doctor goes, yeah, by the way, the wound and bone cultures from my office, 0 infection. He goes, that's 4 wound cultures from 2 different places, 0 infection. And he was trying to validate to us, but there really was infection in the bone. And we're like, look, we get it.
We believe you.
We believe you. We know you don't do this for fun. You're a surgeon and you enjoy cutting, but you don't, milk a patient for 2 years and be like, it's time for another surgery.
The foot was swollen. There was all kinds of red.
And bad. It was bad. So he, as quickly as things can spiral downward in producer Mark's system, they can rise up faster than anything I've ever seen. And so he is doing fantastic. The wound is great. He is taking some time to work from home because he will never stop working. He worked right before surgery, and later that evening was on his iPhone working after surgery.
iPhones are great.
Yeah. You never have to. You can work while you're being prepped at the morgue. I imagine you will be. They'll be like,
you can count on it.
Sir, we need you to put your iPhone down. We need to insert this thing into your neck to drain all your blood. Wait, hold on. I have one more thing. Just one more thing I have to tell someone to do. So he has never stopped working. And and the surgeon, who again is a sweet man, before he let him go and signed his discharge papers, he said, in the most stern voice I've ever heard, which is not very stern for him, he's like, look, he has a very hot motor. Even hot motors need to slow down. You need to keep him quiet, not walking as much. He can sit at his desk 2 to 3 hours a day, which you have violated every day. He's supposed to be lying down with the foot elevated more often than he does, but
Well, I'm doing it more than I ever have.
Well, that's true, but it's still not enough. But it was just such a funny conversation. And he said, I believe he takes many more steps a day than he acknowledges. And I'm like, yes, most people lie to you about their drug and alcohol take. And Mark Humphreys will lie to you about the number of steps he takes. So yeah, he has no clue how much he walks. And
I've been absolutely sequestered on the second floor of our home, and where I can't go downstairs. I've been downstairs now for a better part of 2 weeks.
No, you went once. We went to the doctor.
Except to go to the doctor.
Yeah, he went downstairs. He has been upstairs, and believe me, it's so much fun for me because I love cooking. I love being in the kitchen. I love preparing meals, and I love bringing them up on a tray to the king. I hate all of it. I hate every goddamn minute of it.
She has been a saint.
I really have been. I'm going to take that in right now.
You've been a saint.
Even though I'm crying and complaining the entire time, I'm still, I watched diligently what they fed him in the hospital, and I'm trying to replicate those meals. And producer Mark is actually a healthy eater. He loves salad and things I don't like. And he likes salad with a little bit of dressing, like a little bit on the side. I only like a salad if it's like, I don't know, a small jug of dressing poured over it. He actually is a healthy eater, but it's just, getting smaller meals and smaller portions and the right stuff. So he's being such a great patient, really a fantastic patient. He doesn't complain at all. I am a horrible nurse. Awful.
You're a good nurse.
I'm horrible. I hate it with all my heart. And I've told producer Mark that if I so much as get a hangnail, I would just want him to put a pillow over my face, because if I wake up and someone's taking care of me, it's going to be bad. I'll lose my shit. I don't want to take care of anyone, and I don't want anyone to take care of me. So
I'll have to strap you down.
I don't want that either. I don't know. We're not talking about this now. However, he has both of his little toes. His feet are intact, missing some bones, some boneheads, some metatarsal boneheads, which is one of my favorite things to... What if it's like woodchucks versus beavers versus metatarsal boneheads?
Yeah.
Now, see, I'd pay for that.
That would be like a punk band from the 80s, like, the metatarsal boneheads.
I was thinking they would all fight it out like in a large coliseum kind of thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yes, the metatarsal boneheads. So this story was one that really, I was like, God, that's so weird and perfect. And then what happened with producer Mark's toe, I was like, oh, shit. I wonder if I should do this now or if it's going to upset him. And of course, him being him, I tell him the story and he's like, no, that's fine. I don't care. I would have been highly offended. But because he still has all of his toes, I think he's fine with it. But this is a really interesting story. The thing that bothers me is the lack of attention that the victim has gotten, and she has not been found. But the lack of the attention that the perpetrator has gotten, he's an interesting fellow. So William Joseph Greer is his name, and he lived in Texas. And he had 2 sons, and he was divorced. And he met the beautiful Tammy Esquivel at a strip club where she was working because her husband had been laid off. So they get together, but Tammy, no matter what you think of her, is such a upstanding girl. She will not see Mr. Greer until her divorce is final. And after her divorce is final from her first husband, she moves in with William Joseph Greer, and he has shared custody of his 2 sons, and that are 9 and 13 at the time. Now, they've only lived together about 6 months when it's the 19th of December in 2006. And she disappears. She doesn't come back. No one has seen her. The 2 boys are picked up by their mother on the 20th, and they go to stay with her for the Christmas holidays. They're off for school. Now, this is a case where timing is everything. Timing is every little thing. And the boys are not questioned until the 30th of December.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a 10-day gap right there. But in the meantime, on the 22nd of December of 2006, Will Greer, that's the guy from the Waltons. Will Greer is arrested in Cleveland, Texas. That is after there's a call made to the emergency number there about a truck that has been run into a ditch. Now they find the truck. They find some odd things inside. One of those things is Tammy Esquivel's pink cell phone. And out from a field next to the ditch where the truck had been run into the ditch comes a intoxicated Will Greer, naked and babbling and weaving and bobbing. And the police officers have body cam and dash cam running. Thank the good sweet Lord. Because this piece of information that he lays down on them, they say they can't use at the time to hold him, which is part of the problem. Is really smacks of Peter Chadwick. So Will Greer says, I love Tammy so much. It was an accident. I was holding the gun and it went off.
Oh, my.
I shot her in the chest. I watched her die.
This is all on cam.
On camera. Caught on vest cam and on dash cam.
Wow.
Picture of him behind the cage talking in a rambling voice because he said he had done cocaine and was intoxicated from alcohol also. So he had done cocaine and had had a lot to drink, ran his truck into a ditch, is wandering naked in a field, and confessed to her murder.
And they can't hold him?
No! So they arrest him for disorderly conduct. And they don't have in their minds enough to keep him because they don't even know who he's talking about.
Oh, my God.
And he posts bail and he goes.
So this is a different law enforcement agency than the one investigating the disappearance, evidently.
They lived in Spring, Texas, and where this happened was Cleveland, Texas. I do not know the proximity. But he confessed on video without anyone asking him. He comes naked, wandering up to the truck and the cops and saying, I love Tammy. I would never hurt her. It was an accident. The gun went off. I shot her in the chest. I watched her die was one of the sentence that doubled me over.
Oh, my God.
I watched her die. So he splits, shockingly, but not before visiting his brother in Houston for Christmas. He said, I'm going to go visit my brother in Houston for for Christmas in Houston. And then he tells his brother, you know what? I really messed up my life. I think I'm going to go to Georgia and see our other brother, and I'm not going to come back. So he does go to Georgia, tells his other brother what happened. I accidentally shot Tammy. I had to bury her. But you know what? I'm going to go to Canada, and I'm going to start over. So the last time,
I can't believe this.
It gets so much worse. The last time that brother saw him was at a truck stop in Georgia. So he does not go to Canada. He goes to Louisiana. They track him there. Now, if there's anyone in the cowboy world who has an explanation for this, because he did it twice, and that's how they knew they were on the right track. While in Louisiana, he abandoned the place he was staying, and he left a cowboy hat with a marble, an upside-down cowboy hat with a marble in the middle. Now, the only thing I could think is sometimes cowboy hats are like, the cheaper ones made of straw. Maybe you put a marble in it to hold it down. I don't know. I don't know the significance. Maybe it's a good luck thing. But he left in his abandoned apartment in Louisiana, left a cowboy hat with a marble in it, He then goes to Georgetown, Kentucky. And he's there for about a month. And while he's in Georgetown, shit gets real. He gets a job immediately in construction. He joins a church and gets baptized.
Oh, God.
He has several girlfriends.
See, you told me the basics of this story. You didn't tell me any of the details. This is ridiculous.
It gets worse. He has several girlfriends. One of them, Kelly Richardson. She was like, he comes across as this real straight-laced good guy, but he was also a real ladies' man. He's quite the charmer, but he would get nervous if I was speeding or if I ran through a yellow light. Maybe he's nervous, Kelly, because he knows if you get pulled over, law
enforcement might ask for his license or something.
Yeah. And he goes, Kelly says, you can only put that act on for so long. And I knew something wasn't right. I didn't know what it was. And it wasn't even a month after I noticed this behavior that he disappeared. And when he left the apartment, the job, the church, and the women he was romancing in Georgetown, Kentucky, in his abandoned apartment, they found a cowboy hat upside down with a marble in it.
This is Twilight Zone shit.
It's very odd. So back to the timeline. I know I'm going back and forth, but it's overwhelming. So on the 30th of December of 2006, when the boys were supposed to come back, the two sons of William Joseph Greer were supposed to come back into his custody, he's obviously nowhere to be found. And the two boys, then 9 and 13 at the time, they really liked Tammy. Now, she'd only been in their life like maybe 6 months, but apparently she was a very good stepmom to them, and they liked her very much. And the two boys finally say, 11 days after what happened, they say, Dad shoved Tammy into the master bedroom and closed the door and locked it. And they were fighting sometime between 2 and 5 a.m. on December 19th.
Okay.
And then there's a gunshot. We're listening at the door. There's a gunshot and there's a horrible gurgling noise. And Dad kept asking Tammy if she was dead or alive.
Oh, boy.
So the next morning, they go to school for the last day before holidays, and their mom picks them up at school, and they weren't going to talk to their dad till the 30th. And they arrive, finally the police, after the young boys tell them on the 30th what happened. Police search the house that Will Greer had, and they find evidence, obviously, of a shooting. There's enough blood in the bedroom that they can, realize that someone's either been seriously injured or killed. There's such a large amount of blood. There's a giant roll of plastic wrap there. So they don't know where Will Greer has put Tammy, and we still don't know to this day. But they finally issue an arrest warrant in January of 2007.
Good grief.
But for 11 years, he's on the run, including Louisiana and Texas. But he was finally arrested in November of 2017. And I asked producer Mark how to pronounce this, and we both, I think, thought it was Nakajuka, but it's not. We thought it was Nakahuka, but it's Nakajuka. It's Nacajuca, and it's a small town in Mexico, really almost on the Guatemalan border.
So it's way south.
Oh, but he'd been there for 4 years. He'd probably knocked around other parts of Mexico, for 7 years or 6 years before that. But for the last 4 years, he'd lived in this small town. Here's the part you're going to like. It's in the Tabasco township or whatever. Tabasco it's part of the Yucatan Peninsula. It's that far down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he has moved up on the U.S. Marshals most wanted list. He, at that point, moved up, I think it was in 2006, like a year before they actually caught him. So he'd moved up, and this is fascinating, they had called him the chameleon. And I'm like, well, no, that's weird, because he just looks like everyday guy. One picture of him you see, and you look like, oh, you look like broke down Ben Affleck. That's what he looks like, Ben Affleck on a bender. But every other picture, you would have no idea it's the same man.
Really?
He's got a shaved head. He's heavier. He's thinner. He's got a handlebar mustache. He has his hair all grown back with blonde tips. He is, and I don't even want to admit this, but the marshals are right. He is a chameleon.
Now, that's really fascinating.
He is a chameleon, and obviously, a sociopath. He's a charmer, according to Kelly Richardson, one of the women from Georgetown that he, was romancing. He somehow got the sweet, beautiful Tammy Marie Esquivel to leave her husband and move in with him, and then kills her during a drunken fight. But besides having a scar on his left forearm and his left thigh, he's missing the second toe on his right foot.
Aha.
And there are pictures of it. It looks like it's the first knuckle because there's still like a stub of a toe left, but it's the second toe on his right foot. And they have, been looking for him and looking for him and looking for him. And in November of 2017, a average-looking guy who they call, the townspeople call El Gringo, which is hilarious, who is now going by the name Daniel Ortega, gets on a little gets on a little scooter and goes to the school to pick up his two kids he has with his new Mexican wife. And they nab him. And he doesn't fight back. And they wait, and he is finally extradited back to Harris County because, and this is the thing that is so amazing to me right now, all of the cases in the past that we've had such arguments with Mexico, they wouldn't extradite criminals from the U.S. that have run there back to the U.S. because we have a death penalty. The Mexican government has become an amazing ally in crime as far as busting people who do bad things. So he's not only on the U.S. Marshals Most Wanted Fugitives list, he has been he's been shadowed by a form of Mexican police. It's kind of like a special league. I would call them like the U.S. Marshals of Mexico. It's known as the Criminal Investigation Agency, like CIA, except in Mexico it's the AIC. So it's probably Agency of Investigation of Criminals.
Right.
So the Mexican Federal Investigation Agency called the AIC located Will Greer in the Tabasco municipality of Nacajuca. And he's been a resident. They had, tracked him and watched him. And they said he's been a resident here for 4 years, known as Daniel Ortega. He and his wife and his two kids, are wonderful citizens. The townspeople call him El Gringo. He has a wonderful command of the language, which the marshals were like, Will Greer is a good old boy redneck who didn't know one lick of Spanish when he left here. And now he's so embedded in Mexico. I think that's another part of him being a chameleon.
That he just spoke it like a native, eh?
Yeah. They were like, we can't believe his mastery of the language of different dialects. And they were like actually impressed with how, well he fit in, even though he's a white guy named Daniel Ortega.
Which is so funny because that was, the name of the Nicaraguan president, Sandinista dude.
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, that's funny that he chose that name.
That's hilarious. Well, he's arrested on November 28th of 2017 and brought back to Harris County. The thing that broke my heart is that the Harris County sheriffs were saying, we're trying hard to locate the next of kin of Tammy to let her know. And I'm like, how hard can it be for you to find? Does she not have any?
Wow.
I just broke my heart. It was like, this is the person who is the victim here. This is the woman who lost her life because, she picked the wrong man and he took her life.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It's awful. At one point, Interpol had issued a red alert for Will Greer, and they had posted a $25,000 reward leading to the arrest. But since the Mexican AIC agency had found him, they didn't need to pay out a reward. It was hard work on both sides of the border that found him 11 years after he goes on the lam. So his pretrial begins in January of 2020, and I think that's jury picking, and his trial is supposed to start in March of 2020, and it will be interesting to see what he comes up with as an excuse.
Yeah.
No longer saying it's an accident. The thing I want to know is, where is Tammy?
Yeah.
What did you do with her?
Maybe they could cut a deal with him or something.
Well, that's what I was thinking. What do you know? Like, for less time, will you please tell us where Tammy is? There's rumors that he either burned her or buried her in a private property in Liberty County, which I don't know where that is either. But it's the whole thing is heartbreaking that this happened. He got away with it in 2 different states in the U.S., and gosh knows where he was in Mexico before landing in Nakajuca for the last 4 years and living his, life with his new family and going, he's a dad going to pick up his kids at school on a scooter. And, oh yeah, you're coming with us because you killed Tammy. So when they extradite him, the Mexican police ask one last thing, is that he take off his right shoe. And then they know they have the right man, that he has the stub of a second toe on his right foot. So that's how they know for sure that it's him, and all of the other pieces of information. But I think the lesson here is, if you plan on killing someone, you want to keep all of your toes, because if they're able to find you minus a toe, you're screwed. And as the U.S. Marshals said, the toes don't lie. So remember that, Tip-Sters. Toes don't lie. Not that any of you would ever do anything bad. But in case, keep all your toes. And more cowbell.
And remember, if you want to become a patron of the podcast, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.